to Earth Network with your host, Sean Myrie. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. This episode is about, right? It says the title 9/11 and Epstein Files. What does it mean? It could mean a variety of things. It could mean emergency. It could mean maybe even 9/11. There's been a conspiracy linking him with 9/11 because he worked in the stock market and stuff like that. He worked around money. World Trade Center is money. So I'm going to just read a brief description of this whole thing, and please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. One word found: 9/11 times 911 times. And Epstein files reveal secret code, right? As the Justice Department released its largest trove of Epstein documents to date, the attention shifted from the names inside the unsettling discovery of the two words, repeated almost 2,000 times, that may have been used as a secret code to conceal horrific crimes. When the U.S. Department of Justice released over 3 million pages of Epstein related documents January 30th, it was expected to reveal damning associations, grime testimonies, and disturbing details. Haven't heard anything yet, but buried deep within the records, one chilling pattern raised fresh alarms about potential coded language used to mask heinous crimes: cheese, pizza, and child porn. It's crazy. So it says cheese, right? Pizza and child porn. In an interview with Telegraph, a mother named India, who founded a parent-led group that tracks suspicious online activity related to children, revealed that pizza and cheese emojis are regularly used by predators to communicate on social media sites to trade images of children, often stolen from public family accounts. There are pictures of little boys aged 5 to 6 on the beach in swimming trunks, and chances that the pictures was taken by parents on their holiday. Somehow the pictures has gotten into their hands, India told the outlet. She added the images being circulated aren't always what you think. They're everyday photos of kids taken by parents. So there's some excuses, you're going to hear about in regards to the 9/11 and the Epstein files, right? No one else can understand. On the surface, many mention of pizza in Epstein files appear to be innocent, casual references to food. So you hear all this stuff. A lot of these files are just stuff this guy was making notes of: food, dinner, and plans, and party menus. While nothing explicit can be proven from a single keyword alone, staggering frequencies in Epstein's correspondence is difficult to ignore. According to the search results of Epstein's library through DOJ, pizza appeared 859 times, while cheese showed up 1,138 times. So every word they're going to comb through. And while many of these uses refer to actual food, some of the references are bizarre and contextually suspicious. In one message dated July 16th, 2009, Epstein writes, "There are millions of babies, very little good vegetables, sick cream cheese." What the hell? Another writer written to Epstein from a redacted user on April 6, 2018 says, "This is better than Chinese cookie. Let's go for pizza and grape and soda again. No one else can understand." So they're saying he was using codes. Of course, you got to use codes if you're in that dirty game, right? But what's the link to 911 or 9/11? Because I've been hearing stuff with his girlfriend that they use those words in regards to 9/11, right? How's it going, bro? How long have you been? Recently, just started talking about this 9/11 thing with Epstein, which it can be linked because he was into the stock market, he was into money, the World Trade Centers. They went down and stuff. I heard there was some mention of a pilot talking him and Grizzle and Maxwell back and forth. Okay, Jeffrey Epstein. So it was saying, and while these terms aren't proof of criminal conduct, Their repeated appearance in Epstein communication has led to many to ask whether they were used to mask discussions of abuse. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted sex offender who solicited prostitution from a minor. His death in 2019 did not end the investigation. That's why we're talking about it right now. But we got to go to the link, right, of him and 9/11. What's the link? What's the link with Epstein and 9/11? It's just recent news. There's so much news out there that is going over some people's heads, right? So let's see some news on this whole thing. Have you ever heard of Myron C. Fagan? No, haven't heard of him. Epstein files 9/11 initially takes from Jason Burns Madhavan Sethi, RG 9/11 and the 9/11 War Room. So this guy, I don't know who this guy is, right? But there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there who have came up with things, especially around Epstein. There's some paper trail talking about this right now. I'm going to give you that Wood Exchange and his connection. Have they ever heard of? I haven't heard of that. Now let's see. People, please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Now, recent Epstein files have released has yielded some disturbing and mind-boggling revelations. Here's the roundup of the potential 9/11 connections from our friends across the movement. So this is probably some conspiracy theorists, but it shows a note, right? Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Subject: Shadow Commission invitation. Thanks for your invite. Unfortunately, I cannot be on the Shadow Commission. What is the Shadow Commission? Is this the secret group what all these billionaires are part of? Okay, Shadow Commission. Any interest in being on the Shadow Commission on 9/11? The membership list is secret. Hmm, interesting. Apologies, it's been over a month since you've heard from us. So this is some organization. I don't want to hear about them and what they are saying. Where is the proof of or anything in these documents, the Epstein files linked to 9/11? It's just what's called a code word. So Pizzagate is real. Epstein files have fueled conspiracy theories. Of course, have fueled a lot of conspiracy theories. Now let's check this out. Right? Pizzagate is real. Why Epstein files have fueled conspiracy theories all over. So let me see. He uses these code words. This is interesting. The Federal Bureau of Investigation. Hot dog means boy. Pizza means girl. Cheese, little girl. Pasta, little boy. That's what they're saying. Ice cream, male prostitute. Walnut, person of color. Holy shit, they call person of color walnut. Map, semen. Sauce, orgy. That's disgusting, right? It's really disgusting. It's part of the Templar Knights. I could believe it. This guy was part of a lot of different things, right? He's a part of a lot of different things. The Epstein files were expected to shock. What few anticipated was how quickly would resurface one of the internet's most notorious conspiracy theories as newly released documents circulate online. A familiar phrase has returned to the timeline with alarming confidence: Pizza Gate is real. But what about the 9/11 thing? I guess the 911 thing was a code word for many other things, but people are trying to link that, I swear, with him and Ghislaine Maxwell to the 9/11 attacks because she said something about pilot. That's what they brought up. Across social media platforms, right, are reinterpretations, emails, metadata, documents, languages from Epstein files through the lens of long debunked beliefs, reigniting claims of secret codes, elite networks, hidden crimes, the result of digital wildfire, where old narratives are being repackaged as proof. So they're bringing up old stuff to make it as proof, right? How Epstein files reopened old wounds. So it's reopening a lot of things. People are questioning stuff, even like him drugging people, right? The type of drugs he was using to on his victims, right? So you see the code words. The code word for 9/11 now is something interesting. So the FBI intelligence bulletin, code words and terminology used by pedophiles to identify sexual preferences, cross references with Epstein library search. That's the FBI. So they know what hot dog means, boy. So all those words he was using or whoever was using, they know about. They know about. The Epstein files consist of millions of documents released by the Department of Justice over time, including emails, travel records, photos, and other materials. But only two people have been arrested, maybe three and a half, because they released the Prince Andrew recently. Online communities have zeroed in on recurrent wounds, names, and patterns, particularly the word pizza. For conspiracy believers, frequently alone has been enough to revive dormant theories. One widely shared claim reads: Pizza is mentioned in 911, what, 911 times in the Epstein files. You see how they twist stuff? 911 times in the Epstein files. So that's how much times pizza is mentioned. According to the FBI's own website, pizza is a code word for child among pedophiles. Tell me more about how Pizzagate was a vast right wing hoax. So, the amount of times pizza is mentioned, you're saying that is a code word for pedophiles. That nasty word. Pizza's mentioned 911 times in the Epstein files. There are emails that ask Epstein to help his clients find pizza. Man, that's a giveaway. Help your clients who are billionaires who could own a pizza parlor find pizza. So, how much people know about the code words? That's how we're going to break it down. What this man been doing, and that's how you could kind of find out who's involved. Anybody who was talking about pizza. Pizza is a code word for child among pedophiles. Tell me more about how Pizzagate was a vast right wing. Okay, so 9/11, that is another conspiracy. People are saying Ghislaine was talking to Epstein about what about the pilot, right? So people might link, like I said, Epstein was into the stock markets, he was into money. So guaranteed when 9/11 hit, that affected him. Got to really look on that. When 9/11 happened, that affected Epstein, and everything kind of fell apart for him after that too. You have to look on it. Um, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 3 years later, he was, basically accused of doing what he was charged for. Many reactions from frame Epstein files as proof that whistleblowers were ignored or silenced. One viral post claims the Epstein files vindicate everything Gabriel Rico Jimenez and other whistleblowers who have been disappeared tried to expose to the public. Pizzagate is real and the conspiracy theories were always right. Oh, all of a sudden now they're right. The psychopathic elites not only ate humans, they also tortured and sacrificed children in satanic rituals. No proof of that. Your tax dollars paid for all of it, including cover ups, disappearances, fact checks, and censorship and misinformation. No one will be held accountable until you stop giving your money to the justice system. Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. But how does this link with the 9/11 stuff? I'm still want to know. How does it link? Others argue the mainstream dismissal of Pizzagate was deliberate. Hmm. Everyone is finally realizing how bad Epstein really is. He's been bad a long time ago. Update. Remember when they told you that the cult of satanic pedophiles ruling the world was just a Pizzagate conspiracy theory? Not so crazy now, is it? Wasn't I talking about the priest and the cardinals a long time ago? Oh, do you know about Yakub's story? Yes, I know about that. Going on to create new superhumans? Yes, I know about that story. But this is not a surprise to me. Like, people are being surprised about what's going on. The conspiracy theorists, they're making them look crazy. But now the not people bring up the likes and please subscribe. Now the conspiracy theorists are looking good right now because you're making trying to make people look crazy, and now people are linking certain things like the names pizza and all these other sick ways of describing how they hurt children. As the Epstein files continue to circulate, some claim have grown increasingly extreme. This Epstein document is the tip of the iceberg, the ultimate conspiracy theory that the elites drink baby blood, commit ritual child murder, and grape boys. It's simply true. Pizzagate is simply true. Okay? It's simply true. They keep saying it's Satanist. So who can you believe? Who can you believe? People have a hard time believing some conspiracy theories. The Epstein document is the tip of the iceberg. Okay. Now I'm looking for the they said 911 times pizza was mentioned, which pizza is a nasty word, right? For pedophiles. What is Pizzagate? Despite renewed claims, Pizzagate remains a thoroughly discredited conspiracy theory originated during the 2016 US elections. But is it in the documents? Is it not in the documents? A legend that the Democratic officials were operating a child trafficking ring out of Washington. Is that why Trump brought out the files? Because he doesn't like the Democrats? DDD Pizzeria. Law enforcement agencies investigated and found no evidence supporting the claims. The theory had real world consequences. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't I hear about Pizzagate years ago? And I never knew anything about Epstein stuff. Much respect. Join in the chat. Join in the chat. I welcome your opinions, people. Um, didn't we hear about Pizzagate a long time ago? Correct me if I'm wrong, and I didn't know it was connected to anything to deal with child predators. A man travels to a restaurant with a rifle and fires shots. Okay, what is this? This is connected. Let me just give you guys this. A man travels to a restaurant with a rifle and fires shots inside while attempting to self investigate. Staff receive threats, and a restaurant becomes a symbol of how online misinformation can translate into offline danger. Over time, Pizzagate evolved, shedding explicit political targets and morphing into broader claims about global elites, making it more adaptable, more viral, and harder to contain. So it was a conspiracy, what was something else that they transformed into a lot of this other stuff. So who do you believe? Jamaicans for Trump. If you want to support Trump, good for you. Today he's going to have, or tonight he's going to have a state of the address situation. He's going to be talking. Hopefully he doesn't deport no Jamaicans, right? Hopefully he's good because he's deporting people still. He's not done. Part of all of this, what I'm talking about with the Epstein stuff, you could call it a distraction, probably can be, but it's something that is feeding the media. And you see how they put it out there. Um, the 9/11, was he responsible for 9/11? But really the 9/11 is 911 times pizza's mentioned in the Epstein files. So you're going to be hearing about a lot of shit like this, how much times it was mentioned, little things, right? Why Epstein files amplify belief? The Epstein files differ from earlier conspiracy theories because they are real documents tied to real criminal case. The legitimacy creates fertile ground for misinterpretation, especially when combined with distrust and institutions and algorithm-driven amplifications. As one post puts it, Pizzagate was real. The word pizza is used over 900 times in Epstein's various emails and not in the context of food. So it was codes. Of course, this guy was doing a lot of, if you want to say, illegal shit. So he has to use codes. That's what these guys do. Another draws a direct line between Epstein and earlier claims, Epstein files. So, as expected, Pizzagate is 100% real. All roads lead back to the little pizza parlor in DC and the man named James Alefantis. Why does it go back to that? And I'm seeing a picture. I'm going to have to look up that guy's name. I'm seeing a picture. Ironically, there are exactly 911 results for pizza in the Epstein files. It's safe to say that every Pizzagate truther should feel vindicated. Hmm, interesting. Interesting about this. And the pictures of these guys in there. Kentucky, your governor, Andy Bashar. I don't want to part of it, some governor. If they put pizza with a name in it, all those people are probably part of it. Sounds cryptic. Yes, it's cryptic codes. Pizza. I could go back to the early codes. You wouldn't believe what they use. And they're saying there's a look-alike in Canada who looks like Grizzlyn Maxwell. That was going viral just a couple days ago, saying that they don't believe she's locked up, that she's really in Canada. All these conspiracies are coming out right now. So look at this. Let me give you this now. Let's see the names. Okay, this is what it means. Hot dog boy. So that's what the FBI put out. Hot dog means boy. Pizza is girl. So girl is so basically girl is about 900 times mentioned. You just put it as pizza. It kind of makes sense because when people say yo pizza is very popular, right? It's a very popular thing. So he says yeah pizza, a slice. It's disgusting. Girl, right? Yes, that's actually old. Yeah, pasta, little boy, ice cream, male prostitute, walnut, person of color. So walnut is a color too, right? So these guys have these nasty names, and these are so-called professional pedophile, if you want to call it like that, guys who have money so they could cover shit up, right? They could they use these codes. They use these codes. I'm seeing pictures, and I think they hit it on the spot in regards to this whole uh code shit. Why are you using it wasn't for food. The pizza wasn't for food. The 9/11 now, 9/11. Like I said, you see how the internet could change shit up? Now, for example, now 9/11, they're trying to link that 911 times. I'm talking about with the name. There is talk of 9/11 in regards to the real event and Epstein. Yeah, and his girlfriend. So imagine he worked with people from in the Middle East. Remember that he worked with people in the Middle East. What's his name? Epstein. So you never know what could happen. He was doing business with Prince Andrew, and I found out Prince Andrew was into arms dealing. He was helping with the arms dealing. 9/11, what happened and how many people died? Okay, mysterious death linked. Okay, mysterious deaths linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, let's see. Interesting, right? Because they're going to cover that up. It says, coincidence or cover up mysterious deaths surrounding child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This is probably what a lot of people don't know. They're saying there's mysterious deaths, right? Nah, not going to look that up. I want to look up the 9/11. Besides the 911 times pizza is mentioned, saying that it has to deal with young girls. What's going on is recent news, and they're going to try to mix people up. And I'm giving you guys this before they continue. There was talk of Mr. Epstein being involved, or some talk in emails rumored with the 9/11, that Ghislaine Maxwell had sent some type of message to Epstein regarding something to do with 9/11 and pilot, like they knew about it, right? So that's kind of disturbing. And I don't know if that's true. FBI told New York police to stand down after arresting Epstein. What? That's interesting. That's interesting, right? So today, I don't know if Trump is going to mention anything about the Epstein files, but he's going to have a big announcement come in the evening or nighttime. Jeffrey Epstein, okay, I already know who he was arrested for. Emails exchange took place to indicate for, okay, so what happened? What happened? Now, this is something a lot of people don't know. So it says email exchanges that took place between July 10th and 11th of 2019 indicate that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had direct had directed New York law enforcement to cease their Epstein investigation, including the New York District Attorney's Office and the NYPD's Special Victims Unit. Didn't know that. FBI reached out to the NYPD leadership already, and they were told that the SVU had been directed to stand down and that all Epstein stuff needs to go and through us. Danny still tried to go forward with their own investigation. So I think it's worth a call. I think it's worth a call. So there's certain things what people don't know. There's certain things what a lot of people don't know what was going on. But let's see. Because there's conspiracy theorists trying to link Epstein with everything what's out there. And I've seen this recently about Epstein and 9/11. So, is it true? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's true with the 9/11 stuff. A timeline of Jeffrey Epstein investigation and fight. What? And fight. What fight happened? See, there's all these stories. All these stories. What fight? So you can't believe everything on the internet 100% because they will try to do everything to confuse people. And right now, I'll tell you, they're talking about Epstein files, but it's kind of quiet down. Remember what I said. It's kind of quiet and it's being silent down a little bit, right? Because people really want to know who's these rich billionaires. A timeline of Jeffrey Epstein investigation and the fight to make the government files public. So there is a fight to make these files public. For much 2 decades, police, FBI agents, and prosecutors investigate allegations that Jeffrey Epstein sexually abused underage girls. We know that. Justice Department had released much of what they found to the public. They have released much of what they found to the public. This to show you how people talk shit, right? The millions of documents comprise the most detailed look, yet the inner workings of multiple investigation into Epstein and his longtime confidant Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, we all know that. We all know that. Where's the link to 9/11? Now I'm going to correct it. 9/11 means, right, females. 9/11 means how much times females was mentioned in the emails. So let's confirm that. May 2006, police officials signed paperwork to charge Epstein with multiple counts of unlawful stuff with a minor, but county's top prosecutor, state attorney Barry Kish, Kisher takes unusual step of sending the case to a grand jury. So yeah, that happens. The government says it's fixing thousands. So it says, government says it's fixing thousands of documents in Epstein-related files that may have had victim information. Now they're saying a lot of the files are missing. A lot of the files are missing. So are the 911 files that we know means female. Are those missing? The 911 files. And what's the detail after they're talking about pizza? What's the details? That's 911 files. And I done my research. They're saying there's 1,200 victims. So 10, 11, 12. So 300 others are missing. Those could be international. Those could be people who are not Americans, I'm guessing. But 900 other files, I mean, 911, that's what they mean. 911. You see how people could put out stuff to really get you. July, so this is what it is, giving Epstein special treatment. So it says Palm Beach police leaders who publicly accuse Krishner of giving Epstein special treatment. The FBI begins an investigation. They begin their investigation in 2006. 2007, federal prosecutors prepare an indictment. For a year, Epstein's lawyers engaged in talks with U.S. Attorney in Miami, Alexander Acosta, about a deal that would avoid federal prosecution. Epstein's lawyers decree his accusers as unreliable. So that what was going on, and that's why he did not serve a long time in jail after 2006 because the government worked with him. Secret deals to a light jail term. So that the government should apologize for. That's a file what's out there. The government should apologize for releasing this guy, and now he's a monster, but he's dead now. So in 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to state of charges, one count of soliciting prostitution and one count of soliciting prostitution from someone under the age of 18. So they knew this guy was dirty. Of course, if he only got caught for those two, he done a lot. So pizza 9/11 is for sure for real. That's real. He is sentenced to 18 months in jail, basically a year and a couple, right? Under a secret arrangement. The U.S. Attorney's Office, what's the secret arrangement? The U.S. Attorney Office agrees not to prosecute Epstein for federal crimes. Epstein serves most of his sentence in a work release program. So most of his sentence, this guy was in a nice spot. He wasn't in no bad spot, right? Him to leave jail during the day. So the daytimes he was out, nighttime maybe he was in. What did that do? Right? Watch. Labor Secretary Acosta resigns amid criticism over Epstein files. So a lot of the people resigned from their spot when the Epstein files first hit. There's probably a list of people that resigned after it first hit. In May 2009, one of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Guthrie, files a lawsuit claiming Epstein and Maxwell arranged for her to have sexual encounters with royalty. The guy who they just arrested, Andrew, right? This girl committed suicide not too long ago. In July 2009, Epstein is released from jail. For the next decade, Epstein accusers wage a legal fight to get the federal non-prosecution agreement voided. So it almost took a decade for them to fight this guy with all the evidence what's coming out now. So you're telling me this is show you that Epstein was with the government, clearly shows you with the government after being charged and basically they didn't give him no serious time, and they made a deal and he was out for a whole decade, right? So he was doing some work for the government in some type of way. He was valuable for them to release him, and he was free for a long time, people. So the 9/11 link is not necessarily the 9/11 of the buildings dropping. The 9/11 has to, in regard, is Pizzagate, where they're using that code word to talk about um, young girls, right? So that's the code word. Now, news, media, and lawsuits keep public interest high. So things was going on with this whole Epstein stuff, and a lot of people forgot. I'm talking years before, way before all of this stuff was coming out. So March 2nd, 2011, Daily Mail publishes an interview with Guthrie. This is what people need to look up, in which she describes traveling with Epstein to London at age 17. So this is where it's linked to that guy, Andrew. And spending a night dancing with Andrew Martin Windsor, then known as Prince Andrew. The story and the photo of the prince with his arm around Guthrie creates a crisis for the royal family. FBI agents subsequently interview Geoffrey. My thing is this, and it's a nasty work. These guys deserve, well, Epstein's dead, but anybody else, they deserve to get punished. But the only thing what's weird to me is how the lady who passed away, even though she was 17, where was her parents? That's a question. Like, as much as it is, people are gonna ask these questions. Where was her parents for her to travel with this billionaire or this rich man all the way to Europe, and no one was fighting that? I'm just saying, right? Epstein victims want former Prince Andrew to testify before lawmakers. Sure, let's see if that happens. December 30th, 2014, Guthrie's lawyer files court papers claiming she had sexual encounters with Mountbatten of Windsor and other men, including foreign president as well as prime minister and other world leaders. All of those men deny allegations. So my thing is, she willingly done this stuff, or was she threatened? Because if you read it and look up the information, it sounds like she was participating in it, right? God bless her soul. But November 2018, the Miami Herald revisits the handling of Epstein's case in a series of stories, focusing on partly on the role of Acosta, who by this point is President Donald Trump's labor secretary. The coverage intensifies public interest in Epstein. So, right now, is there as much public interest anymore? Did they work to distract? Did the hard work of distraction from the government work? Might be. New York prosecutors revive case December 6, 2018. So it was revived 2018, and that's the only reason Mr. Epstein got locked up, because it was revived by the FBI 2018. The U.S. Attorney Office in Manhattan began a new investigation into Epstein. I'm wondering, was that when Trump was around? You got to look on it. Probably. In July 6, 2019, yes, it was. Epstein's arrested on, yeah, we know all about that. August 10th, 2019, Epstein offs himself in jail, in a jail cell in New York. Right? OG Kicks, what you saying? What you saying, man? July 2nd, 2020, federal prosecutors in New York charge Maxwell with sex crimes, saying she helped recruit and abuse Epstein victims. So this is the big question people want to know. Besides Maxwell, how much others was doing the same like Maxwell? People are waiting because there's not that much people who's been charged, right? June 28th, 2022, Maxwell is sentenced to 20 years in prison. And I'm hearing the only reason she got locked up in prison is because she was lying. She lied a lot of times. So I think each lie, whatever perjury, was 5 years. So a total of 5 times she lied when they were doing the case. So if she came forward with certain things, maybe she wouldn't have got 20 years, but she got 20 years because of perjury, right? And they're saying her involvement with Epstein, but nobody else we know about. January 2024, public interest in Epstein's case urges again after judge makes more court records public in related lawsuit, but no one caught, no one arrested, right? New president and a fresh political crisis. So, this is the thing about it now. We know they make distractions because other things is going on. But why? And I've seen it. Some conspiracy theories, some of you guys are dirty. I'm not saying it can't be real, but some of you guys are dirty. Trying to link the 9/11 attack with Epstein and Grizzly. They're trying to say, this is what they're trying to say, that Epstein knew about it. This is the conspiracy theory I'm going to put out. Knew about everything. It was to help Israel because what was going on now. Remember who was on the plane? They're saying it was people from Saudi Arabia. It's mostly people from Saudi Arabia, right? And Israel and the world out there in the Middle East, and Epstein's Jewish, Maxwell too, right? So they're saying that they constructed or made an event, right? So that America would be involved and help the Jews against the Muslims. That looks like the conspiracy they're trying to make, because they said there was an email from a Grizzlane to Epstein regarding on the that same day about something about a pilot. And now we're hearing about that. Okay, so a new president and a fresh political crisis. So this is what the update is. What happened, right? Why they're talking about it again? Because of Donald Trump. Now, January 20th, 2025, Trump, who was friends and neighbors with Epstein for years, neighbors for years? I didn't know that. That's new news. How come no one's talking about that? Friends and neighbors with Epstein for years become president again. During his 2024 campaign, he had suggested he'd seek to open more government files on Epstein because he knew people were interested in it. And you want to vote Trump in? Then he might get the files. It worked. It worked. February 2025, Attorney General Pam Bondi suggests in Fox News Channel interview that an Epstein clients list is sitting on her desk. You remember that? She said it's sitting on her desk. Was she joking, or is she making fun of people? The Justice Department distributes binders marked declassified to far right influencers. Oh, oh, you hear that? That's new news to me. The Justice Department distributes binders marked declassified to far right influencers, but much of the information had long been public. So they do watch a lot of shit on here, if you know what I mean. Virginia Guffey's plaintiff in Epstein and Prince Andrew's sex trafficking case dies at 41. July 7th, 2025, the Justice Department says Epstein didn't maintain a clients list and it won't make any more files related to his sex trafficking investigation. So first she says there's a list on her desk. And then you hear this. So who do you believe? What should you believe? Right? Because there's a lot of stuff they're making up. July 7th, 2025, the Justice Department says Epstein didn't maintain a client's list and it won't make any more files related to his sex trafficking investigation public. Sure, you got like millions of files. July 15th, 2025, Rep. Roy Kahn, California, Democratic California, and Thomas Massey, right, Republican, I guess, introduces Epstein Files, Transparency Act, which could force the Justice Department to make investigative files on Epstein public. What about the pizza stuff? The pizza stuff is really disturbing, people. The pizza stuff is disturbing, I must tell you, because now I know, and many people should know what it means. Um, if there's any victims, well, there is victims, surviving victims could confirm what pizza means. If they have any idea, that should bring a lot of justice for them, because all the individuals, if Epstein was talking and using this pizza stuff with them, they should investigate those people. July 17th, 2025, the Wall Street Journal describes a sexually suggestive letter that newspapers says bore Trump's name and was included in 2003 album. But he's gotten rid of a lot of stuff. If it has to be linked with Trump, that's gone. Right now, they're filtering out even stuff like this, especially with Epstein. Wherever his name is, I notice it's filtered out. Now let's see. Let's see. July 24th, July 25th. It keeps going. An effort to put political crisis to rest. Deputy and Attorney General Todd Blanchett interviews Maxwell. I didn't know that. She denies wrongdoing and says she never saw Trump involved in any sexual inappropriate activity. So she's saying she never saw anything grisly with involving Trump. She said she never saw anything. Is she hoping that she gets a pardon? I don't know, but she said she didn't see Trump do anything. Right? So this is what's going on because, like I said, pizza is mentioned 911 times. That's what's coming up now, and they're saying certain files are missing. So King Charles III strips Prince Andrew of titles, evicts him from royal residency over Epstein ties. He's done that a while ago. People are like late to the news. The royal family already stripped Prince Andrew of all titles that was given to him a long time ago. November 12th, 2025, a House committee releases a trove of emails. Okay, whatever. Who else found? Oh, this is interesting. So, in November 12th, 2025, the House committee releases a trove of email correspondence between Epstein and others, including Martin Barton, Windsor, that's Prince Andrew, Trump ally Steve Bannon. Oh, Steve Bannon, you're in this. Ex-Treasury Secretary Larry Summers and LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman. In one 2019 email to journalists, Epstein wrote that Trump knew about the girls but didn't explain what he meant by that. Oh, so Epstein was trying to talk about Trump. Kind of makes sense now. Not going to indicate that Trump was behind his, being unalived, but it seems that he was talking against Trump in some type of way, right? Knew about the girls but didn't explain what he meant. November 14th, 2025, at Trump's urgent, Bondi announces that the U.S. attorney in Manhattan will investigate Epstein ties to some of the Republican president's political foes. So he used this whole thing with the files to expose people he doesn't like I was saying, including former President Bill Clinton, right? Democrat Summers and Hoffman, a prominent Democrat donor. None of these men have been accused of misconduct by Epstein accusers. You hear that? No one's been accused by Epstein accusers. Congress passes the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Trump signs it into law the next day. You hear that? He signs something into law the next day. The law is big. When you sign something into law, that's huge. That's a big thing. December 19th, 2025, the Justice Department begins releasing records. The batch includes snapshots that Epstein kept in his home of various famous people he met over the years, including Trump, Clinton. After releasing just a sliver of the available documents, though, the Justice Department halts disclosures, saying it needs more time to review the records. Right? January 30th, 2025, the Justice Department begins releasing what Blanchet says is more than 3 million pages of documents, 2,000 videos, 180,000 images. The files are posted to the department website. So the big question is, they could post all the stuff they want, right? Could post all the stuff they want. What about, let's know about this whole pizza stuff and all the people this message was sent to. So all the people the message was sent to, even those code words or whatever you want to say, Those people are the ones probably involved in the nastiness. Anyone who's they have that, they're talking about pizza, they're guilty. I'm thinking they're talking about pizza. It's not about food. It's about these nasty men doing nasty work, right? Nasty men doing nasty work to girls. There's a whole description of these code words they're using, cheese and a whole bunch of shit they're using. They're using words where code words. It's code words. See, Epstein and 9/11. When you look up Epstein and the 9/11, see 9/11, it says something else. So, why people want to put him next to the actual event, like confusing people with how much girls and the event, what happened in New York, right? Because he's Jewish, straight up. That's why they're gonna link him. Nine most shocking revelation in Epstein docs. Epstein Library, United States Department of Justice. So they have all these files, but no other people arrested. At least 16 files have disappeared from Doge. So this is recent news. No, that's actually from 2005, but there's files been missing. Not surprised. Epstein file search, who's in them and what we create. So let's see. I'm trying to find this Epstein 9/11 because you see how they could fool people out there, right? Right now, they have distracted a lot of people from this. I have to give them it. Let's see if Trump's going to talk today in his nation's address about these files. What Jeffrey Epstein links to Israel. Now, maybe this might make some sense, but it might sound Epstein files reveals victim as young. Okay, let's see. Epstein files latest batch includes emails from a royal family member. Okay, one word, 9/11 times Epstein files reveals secret code. So it's a secret code. That's what it is. A secret code for, and I went back to it. You see how people could, I'm going to read the list again. It's very important for the list because people will just take it out of context or whatever you want to call it and say something else. So cheese and pizza and child porn. So the names, how they put it. Not every use of the word pizza in Epstein files is suspicious. The document dump is massive and many references are beginning. Yet, the volume of strange phrases in certain entries, paired with what's known about pedophile code systems, point to troubling possibilities. The use of pizza, cheese, and phrases like grape soda in strange contexts mirrors language previously flagged by child safety advocates. So, it's something what's been used for years, right? Or, you know, investigators have targeted. They have targeted it. What Jeffrey Epstein's links to Israel. This is what I got to read because they say that he was a spy, a CIA or a Mossad spy. New documents show some belief that the disgraced American financier had links to Israel intelligence services and letter groups, right? The ties between disgraced U.S. financier Jeffrey Epstein and Israel are becoming clearer after the release of millions of documents related to the convicted sex offender by the United States Department. Okay. The documents have been revealed more details of Epstein's interactions with members of the global elite. The global elite, including former Israeli Prime Minister Enya Barak, right? Ehud Barak, but they also documents his funding of Israeli groups. So there is files which they don't want to talk about of him funding Israeli groups. Is that kind of the sensitive nature also, because that would look kind of bad that Israeli groups were taking money from this guy. Israeli groups, including Friends of the Israel Defense Forces, and a letter what and the settler organization, the Jewish National Fund, as well as his ties to a member of Israel Overseas Intelligence Services. Is this fake? Is this fake? Let's see. I'm going to read some recommended stories. France's ex-minister resigns from Arab World Institute over Epstein ties. Okay. So let me read this. 10 days since the U.S. Department of Justice last released millions of documents related to Epstein, and 10.5 years since his what? Since his death in U.S. custody. Details of his interaction with other members of the global elite continue to dominate the world. So let's investigate that. Let's investigate this guy who was rich and powerful with influence. Let's investigate all his relationships. That's what police would do for any investigation. They're gonna look on who he's associated with. So was Epstein a spy for Israel? While the documents provide more evidence for those who believe that Epstein was an Israeli intelligence asset, it's still not something we can say for certain. An FBI memo produced by the Bureau's Los Angeles field office in October 2020 reported that one of its sources had come to believe Epstein was co-opted Mossad agent. That's what they're saying. According to the document, the disgraced financier was described as having been trained as a spy for Israel intelligence. Where did this come from? The source also claimed Epstein maintained links to U.S. and allied intelligence circles through his longtime lawyer Alan Dershowitz, the Harvard University law professor whose network, it said, included many students from wealthy families. Among those cited were Jared Kushner, isn't that Trump's son-in-law? Correct me if I'm wrong. U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law and envoy, ah, and his brother Josh Kushner, both described in the memo, and they are for Israel. Sorry to say, those guys are for Israel. They are 100%. Epstein email correspondence also shows him to have had extensive contact with senior Ehud Barak aide and Israeli military intelligence, Yanni Koren, who made regular stays at Epstein's New York residence and whose cancer treatment in 2012 emails show Epstein appeared to have paid for. So Epstein was for Israel. There's no secret. And people, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. So Epstein was for Israel. There's no secret about it. So is the conspiracy wrong that he could have been like, knew some way about 9/11? Because there's a conspiracy that the owner of the World Trade Center and all Jews did not show up that day. They did not show up that day of 9/11. That's the conspiracy. So if that's true, that means for sure Epstein knew, right? And Maxwell knew because they're the elites. Maxwell poured money. Okay, check this. And this is true. This is facts because you could look it up. The father of Maxwell. Maxwell poured money into, right? Into Israel economy and died in mysterious circumstances after he was said to have fallen from his yacht. I heard about that. In 1991, after embezzling millions of his company's pension fund. So he was corrupt himself. Ghislaine's own father, Miss Maxwell's father, who was filthy rich, was corrupt himself, and he died, right? They said that by an accident. So Epstein himself, now let's see, Epstein himself appeared to have suspected that the Israel Mossad intelligence agents had a role in Maxwell's death. An email Epstein sent in 2018 had the subject line, "He passed away," and referring to Maxwell. So now it's going back and forth. Conspiracy. Was it because he was talking about Maxwell's dad? Why this all happened to him? Why he got exposed? Because he was talking a little bit too much. In the message, Epstein claimed that Maxwell had previously threatened Israel intelligence services. How does he know all of this? Writing that unless the Mossad, gave him 400 million to save his Maxwell crumbling empire, he would expose all he had done for them. And then you're linked to him, right? So this could explain a lot. Why aren't they talking about this guy, Maxwell's daddy? If you're blaming Maxwell to help Epstein, guarantee this guy probably helped Epstein too, or a long time, way before anything. Epstein also alleged that Maxwell had acted as a informal operative, gathering information on the U.S. and United Kingdom and Soviet Union. It's all kind of making sense because these are all the places. Well, the United Kingdom and the U.S. they got it down. Maxwell in the United Kingdom, Epstein in America, and the Soviet Union can be works with Israel. Was Jewish. Yes, yes, he is Jewish. You could say that, right? So, would Epstein have been of interest to intelligence agencies? This is interesting. They say 911 times he pizza was mentioned. So that's what it really means. But some conspiracy theorists are trying to put the whole 9/11 stuff, right, with this too. This is a new development, people. A new development. Many conspiracy theories are trying to put this. Give you the picture. They're trying to say this is what happened, right? It's unlikely that Epstein was not approached. It's unlikely that Epstein was not approached by Mossad, said Aaron Bregman, a lecturer at King's College London, whose relationship with the alleged Egyptian Mossad agent Ashra Marwan formed the basis of the book and film The Spy Who Fell to Earth. Interesting. I'm going to look up that book. The Spy Who Fell to Earth. It's like with the Ashraf Marwan, even though he was not needed to report on Egypt anymore because there was peace between the two countries, the Mossad renewed contact with him to use him to open doors, Bergman said. There's a movie on an actor, I swear, an actor who was a agent for the Mossad. I'm going to look that up. Dershowitz himself, a controversial figure who is avowedly pro-Israel, has denied the claim, saying of Epstein that no intelligence agency would really trust him. How did they know that? Billions, billionaires trust him with their money. So why wouldn't any intelligence agency trust him unless they know a lot of dirt? Dershowitz added that if Epstein had been an intelligence operative, he would have informed his lawyer, referring to himself. Hell no, that would never happen. Israel's current prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has also pushed back on claims Epstein was a Mossad agent. Writing on Twitter, Jeffrey Epstein's unusually close relationship with Ehud Barak doesn't suggest Epstein worked for Israel. Okay, sure. A normal financier had a good relationship with the president of Israel, and that's it. A guy who's being charged with all these crimes just had a relationship with the president of Israel, and he did not help them in no way as a wealthy man, or he did not help. Barak, he says, Barak had long been one of Netanyahu's political opponents. Of course. Jeffrey, okay, this is what he read, put on X. This was a good long time ago. Well, February 6th, Benjamin, the president of Israel. So, Jeffrey Epstein, unusual close relationship with Ehud Barak, I don't know how to pronounce his name, the ex-president, doesn't suggest Epstein worked for Israel. It proves the opposite. How does it prove the opposite? How does it prove the opposite? Stuck on his election. So, they're talking shit. Epstein was helping Israel in some type of way. 100%. He was helping Israel, right? So, can't run away from that. Right now, I could say 100% this story, they are filtering it out. It's working. The powers that be, right? Because there's a lot guilty, they are actually filtering this story out, the Epstein shit. They want to know what's going on, and I'm talking about the ICE, right? They're part of looking on what's going on. So this is where it goes. And they've been trying to link it, like I said, to 9/11. Other sources, including Christopher Steele, who used to head up the British spy agency M16, MI6, Russian desk, have suggested that it was quite likely that Epstein may have been recruited by Russian, and I heard that too, by Russian organized criminals elsewhere. The Polish government has launched an investigation into the late sex offender's links to Russian state intelligence. So there is the rumors, or they're saying there is emails that Epstein sent emails to Russia because he wanted to speak with Vladimir Putin. I don't know if that's true, but there's talk of that, right? And there is relationship with Donald Trump with Russia, and I'm not talking about just the president, right? What do we know about Epstein's relationship with Israel linked organizations? Through Epstein's COUQ Foundation, he provided Friends of the Israeli Defense Forces FIDF and the Jewish National Fund JNF with funds on at least one occasion where he gifted 25,000 to to the FIDF and 15,000 to the JNF in 2006. So he did give money to that. According to the FIDF website, the organization funds programs for Israeli soldiers through its website. The organization invites donors to adopt and a brigade, bilateral what a battalion such as the 97th Netza Yahuda Battalion, which has been widely accused of killing unarmed civilians, killing detainees, torture, and mistreatment. It makes me wonder now, if he was a part of this, helping these people, what is the benefit for him? You know what? I'm going to bring out my conspiracy bag, and people, please like, subscribe. All these children who are in Palestine, who Israel hurt also, not just the adults, that in war they have, let's be straight up, it has happened, right? Is it possible a lot of these children are kidnapped for these pedophiles? Was the Israel military working with Epstein? Because we're talking about Epstein and the Israeli army. Were they working to get children who probably lost their parents? There's a lot of orphans. There's a lot of people who lost their parents because of Israel, doing the bombing. So is it possible that the Israeli army or the Mossad, whatever you want to call it, that this was part of the deal? That's just conspiracy. But people, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. The JNF has also been accused of historically privileging Jewish citizens to land inside Israel while restricting Palestinians' access under under the guise of environmentalism. Activists accused the JNF of contributing to the displacement of Palestinian community ties through forced forced projects built over depopulated villages. It alleged support for the settlement activity in the occupied West Bank, principally in the settlement cluster of the Gush Et Zion, has prompted calls in some countries to revoke its charitable status. The organization has additionally been challenged over environmental whatever. This is what I'm basically saying. Epstein helped Jewish organizations. So this is kind of really sensitive. He is Jewish. Let's be straight up. Let's not stray from that, because if it was somebody else, they would be bringing up their background, right? So he did help Jewish organizations. Guaranteed, it was more than just that amount of money he gave them. So Um, People don't want to look into that, especially America. I guarantee they don't want to look into that. The links to Israel go back much further. Robert Maxwell, a British newspaper tycoon who was the father of Epstein's former girlfriend and co conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, was long rumored to have been linked to Israel intelligence. I heard about that. Maxwell poured money into Israel's economy and died mysteriously circumstances after he was said to have fallen from his yacht. Yep. So he put money into it. So guess what? Who had to continue that? Epstein had to continue that. So basically, we don't know if Maxwell's father was kind of extorted in a way after, threatened because he's a wealthy man and he was doing certain types of things too, probably like Epstein. We don't know. And check it. That's why they still support it. You have to look on it. That's why they still support it. Epstein himself appeared to have suspected that the Israel Mossad intelligence agency had a role in Maxwell's death. So he accused Israel after. It's like he turned his back, saying that he believes that the intelligence, the Israelis killed his girlfriend's daddy. That's why they went after his ass, kind of. The only thing what protected him was Maxwell, right? A role in Maxwell's death. Okay. An email Epstein sent in 2018 had been subject line. He was passed he was passed away, referring to Maxwell. In the message, Epstein claimed that Maxwell had previously threatened Israel intelligence, right? So he knew about the people should read that letter because certain things open up other doors, writing that unless the Mossad gave him 400 million to save his Maxwell crumbling empire, he would expose all he had done for them. So he wanted money, right, from them. So he poured probably a lot of money like that. He was asking for 400 million. So it's hundreds of millions this individual poured out to the Israel and whatever Mossad. So the 9/11 stuff, like I'm saying, is just a tip of the iceberg. And they're trying to mix people up by linking it to the actual 9/11 attacks. Let's see, like, it's crazy. Some conspiracy theorists, I think they shouldn't even be called that. It should be called something else. Epstein also alleged that Maxwell had acted as a formal operative gathering information on US. So that means his daughter knew about this stuff too. That's why he was kind of protected because Epstein knew too much. This all of this stuff I just read is evidence that Epstein himself knew too much. Would Epstein have been of interest to intelligence agencies? Should have been, but only because he was with, Israel, he kind of saved them for a while. And so as an international financier with strong ties to global elites, as well as potentially compromising information on them, Epstein is the kind of person intelligence agencies would turn to. It's true. They would turn to people like that, rich billionaires, people who have relationships all around the world. It's unlikely that Epstein was not approached by the Mossad, so they believe that. I said that already. So, yeah, we're something what we don't know about. Well, some people don't know about it. So, that's from Al Jazeera. You could say that is biased, right? You could say, I don't believe in Al Jazeera, I believe in CNN. Now, and I believe right now, they're fully putting down the filter. Anything, and I tested as much as people are talking about Epstein. I have tested it that they are really filtering out this guy right now. Whenever somebody mentions him, right, something gets alerted. 100%. Something is alerted. Epstein files reveal victims as young as 9 and implicate government. This is recent news. Not too long ago, this news has come out. You can't believe everything what they put out there. This is from Independent. Epstein's files redactions reveal victims as young as 9 and simple and implicate high level of government officials, lawmakers say. Representative Jamie Rask, okay, I heard of him. So now let's see. Let's see. Because it's the same old, same old, same old, same old. Okay, yep, GOP resident risked the ire of President Donald Trump by partnering with Democrats to help spearhead the passage of Epstein Files Transparency Act. So they have the Transparency Act. We want the people arrested, right? But obviously, the government doesn't want that. They want to protect these guys, these nasty men. They want to protect them. Okay, what are we after? Okay, so it says, what we're after is men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to, he said, adding that the intent to hold off from naming the men in order to give DOJ opportunity to correct their mistakes. That's true. That's a simple thing. What their people are after and what they want to see is the people he was doing all of this for. His business. They say he was trafficking or he was this big trafficker. Who are the people the customers? Where's the customers? Let's find them. They found one and they released them. Let's find all the customers, the people that was paying Epstein for these girls or boys or whoever he was, trafficking. They said 911 files point to this code word named pizza. They call it Pizzagate. And pizza means girl, right? Young girl, that's what it means. We didn't want to see any redactions of names or co-conspirators, accomplices, enablers, abusers, rapists, simply to spare them potential embarrassment, political sensitivity, or disgrace of some kind. So they're really protecting people. They're obviously protecting people. That's what it's showing here. They are protecting people. And yet, nonetheless, the Epstein documents that were released are filled with redactions of names and information about people who clearly are not victims and may fall into other categories. The near unanimous passage of Epstein Files Transparency Act last fall set to the motion of 30-day deadline for the complete release of DOJ files on Epstein, who died, oh yeah, we know, suicide. But the department published only a small portion of the files December 19th, followed by a second slightly larger sum on December 23rd, and then 5 weeks later, a much bigger release consisting of 3 million pages of documents including 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. 2,000 videos of what? They should put that on a site so you could see the videos. Maybe no, maybe they can't. You can't see the videos actually. You probably can't. Blanche said at a White House press briefing in the support January 30th release that approximately 3.5 million files published were all DOJ could safely make available from the more than 6 million in its possession without compromising victims of Epstein crimes. So, yes, so the victims, I guess, identity protects the predators. The victim's identity, how they're putting it, protects the predators. However, many have been left dissatisfied with the handling of the release, and the group of Epstein survivors ran a TV spot. I remember, yes, they did. They had a commercial, a TV spot during Super Bowl at LX Sunday, calling for the publication of the remaining documents and telling Attorney General Pam Bondi it's time to tell the truth. Yeah, they made a commercial, Super Bowl Sunday. That they weren't talking too much about that, right? The documents dropped also stoked fresh outrage over the conduct of some of Epstein's associates, most notably Andrew Mountbatten, which they arrested and released him, right? So who else? And former UK ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, prompting Kana to say Monday, this is the most vulnerable the British monarchy has ever been. Where is the people who are getting locked up? The more they talk about this whole story about Epstein, it looks kind of weird now because nobody's getting locked up. We're just hearing about all these files. Nobody is getting locked up. Now, today, later on, there's going to be an announcement. Mr. Trump is going to be talking to the nation or the world. Let's just say he's talking to the world. And he's going to talk about a whole bunch of shit, I'm going to say. But are we going to be hearing about the Epstein stuff? Because that's the biggest news, or was the biggest news. So if you don't see it viral anymore about anything with Epstein, they've done their job. They've done their job of protecting these rich politicians, these filthy rich men who are dirty, and maybe some women. They've done their job. I'm just saying, they've done their job. They got people under control really good. But with 9/11, I want to know about the 9/11 conspiracy with Epstein because that's been out there. The 9/11 conspiracy with Epstein, because it's out there. The 9/11 conspiracy. Epstein files truth, accountability, a million new conspiracies. Conspiracy theories only flourish with more Epstein evidence. 9/11 false flag attacks cited latest Epstein files. Okay, this is what I want to give you guys. The 9/11 false flag attacks cited in latest Epstein files. More than 20 years after September 9/11 attacks, debates and conspiracy theories surrounding the tragedy continues to circulate, particularly across online platforms. Just in, this not too long ago, Epstein files revealed that an email dated 1 week after the 9/11 attacks includes where is the real pilot and shows many conversations between Epstein pilots and Larry Silverstein. Okay, Larry Silverstein. I'm wondering if he's the owner of the World Trade Center. Who's Larry Silverstein? Sounds like he's important. People, please subscribe. Did you know that? I don't know why they mark out the E word. Jews set up the secret shadow commission to make sure all Jews involved in 9/11 was covered up. So it's called the Secret Shadow Commission. That's what they claim. Supporters of this narrative frequently cite intelligence warnings reported before the attacks, the controversial collapse of the World Trade Center Building 7, and claims about hijackers' passports allegedly recovered from the debris. Right? So this is a big conspiracy theory. This is what I was telling you. 9/11 appears to be staged Israeli operatives, according to the latest Epstein files. They even have the conspiracy about World War II in regards to Pearl Harbor, saying that Israel, Jewish people knew about that attack. Right? It says 3 months before 9/11 attack. So according to these claims, the attack helped build public support for Western military involvement in the Middle East, referring to the War on Terror and 2003 investigation of Iraq as key examples for many who hold these views. Such developments are seen as signs that attacks several at a broader geopolitical purpose. 3 months before the 9/11 attacks, this is all what people put out there. A band named I Am the World Trade Center released an album. The 11th song is called September. The next album was called The Cover Up. Fuck. Yo, what's that commission called? The Shadow Commission. Okay, I'm gonna look that up because besides all this mumbo jumbo, let's look up the Shadow Commission. What's the Shadow Commission? What's the link with 9/11 and Epstein? Right? Because there's emails of Maxwell talking about this. She's not gonna join the Shadow Commission. What's the Shadow Commission? What's the Shadow Commission? Let me just see what's the Shadow Commission. Let's see. Just got to see what the Shadow Commission is. The Shadow Commission is a politically oversight body that operates in parallel to official government entities, often representing opposition, interests, or exercising influence without formal executive power. Never heard of the Shadow Commission. A definition and context: the Shadow Commission typically functions similar to the shadow cabinet in parliamentary systems where members of the opposition are assigned roles that mirror official government positions. These members scrutinize government policies, propose alternatives, and prepare their party for potential governance. But they do not hold executive authority themselves. The term can also extend to specialized committees or commissions formed by opposition parties to monitor or critique or influence government actions. So, the key characteristics: parallel structure. Shadow commissions mirror the responsibilities of official government bodies, allowing the opposition to provide informed critique and the policy alternatives. So, this is what was in Griseline's email, saying she doesn't want to be a part of it, but she knows about it. Right? No executive power. Members cannot implement policies. The role is adversary, analytical, and preparatory. Accountability of oversight. They help ensure transparency and hold the ruling government accountable by publicly evaluating decisions and offering alternative proposals. Funding and support. In some parliamentary systems, opposition parties receive public funding to support shadow commissions, meaning political parties. So let me read this. In some parliamentary systems, opposition parties receive public funding to support shadow commissions. So Epstein probably was part of this. Shadow cabinet, a senior group of opposition spokespeople who mirror the government cabinet positions, often forming the core of a shadow commission. So this is real shit. The shadow campaigns, separate from shadow commissions, these involve political activities funded by undisclosed sources to influence elections, public opinion without transparency. That's why they don't want to really talk about all these rich, wealthy, powerful people, because it goes deeper than just these guys doing dirty stuff with underage people. Shadow government, conspiracy theory. A speculative concept suggests hidden actors control government decisions behind the scenes, which is distinct from formal shadow commission. Now, this is why I put up the 9/11 thing. The main goal of a shadow commission is to strengthen democratic process by providing structural opposition, preparing for governance, and ensuring that the government policies are critically evaluated. It allows voters and legislators to see alternative approaches and maintain accountability. This doesn't sound too, forthcoming, the shadow commission and political systems, and it's real. Now, in summary, a shadow commission is organized non-executive body that mirrors official government functions and primarily used by opposition parties to scrutinize advisors and prepare for potential governance. Uh, this is one thing I gotta hit you guys with. So the Epstein thing goes deeper than just these trafficking. Epstein files show that an email dated 1 week after 9/11 were is the real pilot. People could say that's just garbage, but it says, where is the real pilot? The latest Trove Things of Epstein files reveals that Ghislaine Maxwell was invited to a secret shadow commission on 9/11 by Edward J. Epstein, right? An investigator journalist known for his 1966 book, look it up, Inquest, a critic of the Warren Commission, which investigated John F. Kennedy's assassination. The disgraced socialite Ghislaine Maxwell politely declined the invitation. The communication happened January 2003, almost a year and a half after the collapse of the Twin Towers. The exact nature, purpose for the official standing of this shadow commission beyond being an invitation for a secret group related to 9/11 is not detailed. So, hold on, people. Please subscribe. So, people should bring up the shadow commission. It's like they knew what I was going to talk about today. The powers that be. They knew what I was bringing. The shadow commission should be the biggest talk. This should be the biggest friggin' talk, right? Get down to earth, people. This should be the biggest news, right? Shadow Commission. Why ain't nobody talking about it? It's something real. It's nothing fake. Something real. Any interest in being, she had no interest in being on the Shadow Commission 9/11, the membership list. This secret, wrote Ed Epstein. So, because of her daddy, too, because she knows something happened to her dad. So, she knows about these organizations. In a separate conversation, Ghislaine Maxwell was seen explaining a fictional future without any Arabs. Want me to break this down? Interesting. In a separate conversation, Ghislaine Maxwell was seen explaining a fictional future without any Arabs. In this fictional universe, where Arabs have been eradicated, a conversation between a man and his child plays out. The man points to the spot where the World Trade Center stood, and the father sighs and comments, to think that right here used to be the Twin Towers. The child asks what the WTC was. The father responded, there were two huge buildings that were destroyed by you know who. The boy then asks, what are the A's? They were they were. Maxwell sent the email to Thompson Pritzker, a Jewish American billionaire and executive chairman of the Hyatt hotel chain. So these people, Maxwell, Epstein, and the whole group, if you want to call it a cult, they were racist, I could say, against anybody who was not from their culture. And they were really bad people. I'm not saying all people from their culture is bad, but these ones were the bad apples. Another such communication between Philip Levine and former mayor of Miami Beach and Ghislaine Maxwell after a week of 9/11 attacks of the 9/11 attacks. Where is the pilot? Again, the nature of the correspondence is extremely ambiguous. Due to the nature of the release by the Department of Justice, there's no sync. They're good with their words. There's no indexing, just a huge dump of PDF files. This has become one of the greatest media events, like augmented reality. Individuals, journalists, and content creators on social media are invited to piece together the puzzle. I just pieced together a puzzle. And what's important is this whole thing with this shadow stuff. Epstein files revealed FBI authorities' destruction of master copy prison footage. Keeps going. But like I'm saying, they will block out the real deal. People, please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. This is the Down to Earth Network here, and we're on all podcast platforms. I could see, like I said, they will filter out the real. And I'm hearing anything with Epstein, right? Especially if it's coming with research, real research online. They are really filtering it out because the government, there's millions of files. And clearly, a lot of government people are guilty, right? A lot of government people are guilty. And I'll do more research when I get off of this. But clearly, I'm seeing certain things right now as I'm talking, right? Seeing certain things now as I'm talking. As I'm talking, I'm seeing certain things. I'm seeing the algorithm, what's going on. But yes, with this name, this title, 9/11 and Epstein, yeah, yeah. And pizza, 911 times, or they say 900 times, is regarding to young girls. Is regarding to young girls. I don't know how long he's used that code for, but it's regarding to young girls. Just certainly human. Yeah. Yep. Nasty man. But that shadow commission, very important. I don't know if anybody's gonna bring that up. Just look it up yourself. It's something real, and it's kind of ridiculous that there's actually this organization out there to kind of, it's like, not saying they're policing the government, but they're very influential. They got some type of power, right? And Grizzlin was invited, Maxwell, to it and said no. But clearly, what I see, Epstein, his girlfriend, and others, they were against a lot of other people, right? So that's what it is. And people, please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Down to Earth Network out.